Hello, welcome to the civic education lesson. In today's civic education lesson, we'll be looking at voters' rights in good governance. So we will be looking at voters' rights in good governance. So in the previous lesson, we were looking at election systems in Zambia or electoral systems in Zambia. And then we looked at also types of elections. And then today we are going to look at voters' rights in good governance. So we have to know what are some of the voters' rights in good governance. So we must understand that in good governance, voters have the right to, number one, get information freely. So as a voter, in any good governance, you have the right to information, to get information freely, whether information from your selected officials that are representing you, either to get the information from social media, media presses, or from the newspapers, or from the TV station, or from the national TV station or radio station, or even private medias. So you have that right to get information freely. Then number two, you have the right to access voter education. So as a voter, in any good governance, you have the right to access voter education. That starts from who is supposed to have a voter's card, when are you supposed to get a voter's card, where are you supposed to get the voter's card, then how to vote, everything related to voting, that kind of education as a citizen you have, or as a voter, you have the right to that in any good governance. Then number three, you have the right to attend the political campaigns without fear. Okay, you have the right to attend the party campaigns without fear. Okay, so as a voter, it is your right to attend the party campaigns without fear, so that you can get the whole idea of who or what the particular candidate would do for you once you vote for them. Then also you have to know that as a voter, you have the right to express opinions freely. You have the right to express your opinions freely about what you think about the current government, how it is performing, and also how you feel the country should move going forward, and whom you feel is going to emerge the winner. These are the things we talk mostly in 2026. You have the right to do what? To express your opinions freely. Okay. Also, you have to know that as a voter, you have the right to vote for your chosen candidate. So as a voter, you have the right to vote for your chosen candidate. No one is supposed to force you to vote for a particular candidate that you have no information about or you have no interest about. Okay, that is your choice. No one should force you to vote for who, whether your parents or whether your leaders or your church leaders or your teachers at school, whoever it is. No one has the right to force you to vote for someone. You have the right to choose who to vote for. Also, as a voter, you have the right to vote in secret. Okay, as a voter, you have the right to vote in secret, so no one should persuade you to inform so that you inform them whom you voted for. It is your right to keep your vote secret. Okay, then also you have the right to vote without intimidation. As a voter, you have the right to vote intimidation. No one should come and threaten you to say, should you vote for that one, we are going to do something bad to you. Nothing like that. Okay, no one should intimidate you in good governance. All right, and then in good governance, you have to know that you have to get help if disabled. If you are disabled in any good governance, you have the right to get help. All right. Also, in any good governance, you have the right to complain about problems, any problems that your particular community is facing, which you feel like the government can be able to solve those problems, you have the right to complain about those problems. All right. Also, as a voter, you must know that in good governance, you have the right to get time off work to vote. So if you work and tomorrow maybe is the day for voting, you have the right to get off work. Okay, you have the right to get time so that you can be off to go and vote. Okay, so also you must understand that in good governance as a voter, you have the right to be protected by law and the police. Okay, so having talked about voters' right in good governance, now let's talk about election rigging or cheating. So you have to understand that election rigging happens when, number one, opposition parties can't hold meetings freely. So in any particular government, if opposition parties cannot hold meetings freely, then vote rigging is taking place. Also, when opposition parties get little media coverage. So when opposition parties are not covered, especially on public medias, then that can account to be as vote rigging. Okay, then or election rigging. Also, opposition members are detained. So if opposition members are detained, then that can also be counted as vote rigging, especially if it is time for elections. If they are detained and they don't have time to go and campaign, then that is already a sign of vote rigging or election rigging. Another thing is that press freedom is restricted. So election rigging happens when press freedom is restricted. Okay, and also if there is physical violence. Okay, physical violence is used against other parties. So if there's that kind of physical violence against other political parties, then that can be accounted as election rigging. Okay, so we can also say that election rigging is when a counting lacks transparent. So where people are counting votes and there are no other political parties represented there to confirm that the counting is going on as it's supposed to be, then that amounts to election rigging as well. Okay, so another feature is that vote time is manipulated. Let's say election are supposed to end at 18 hours. Okay, and then people end elections at 14 hours and then prevent others from voting. That can also be election rigging, or even when elections end at 19 hours and then you are still allowing people to come from home and go to vote. That can also be counted as election rigging. Okay, also people voting twice. When people vote twice, then that also can be counted as election rigging. And also when candidate bribe voters, so candidate standing to be voted for, when they go out giving gifts to the voters, that is counted as bribe and it amounts to election rigging. And also government resources are used for campaigns. When the party in government uses the government properties like vehicles to go out there to campaign, then that becomes election rigging, because it doesn't put elections free and fair or at a level ground, because the government become more advantageous than the other party. So that now can be accounted to be as election uh, rigging. Okay. Also, results announced before all voting ends. So when elections are announced before voting ends, then that can be alluded to as voting or election rigging, because if people are still voting and elections are being announced, that can influence people to vote in a certain direction. Okay, so now let us look at the dangers of election rigging. Having talked about having talked about election rigging, now let's talk about the dangers of election rigging. So, some of the dangers of election rigging is that this one causes costly election petitions and by elections. So, imagine that a particular election is disputed to be corrupt and to have been rigged, and then the candidates petition the elections to courts. So there will be those legal fees that are supposed to be paid to lawyers so that the petitions would take place. So it becomes costly, those election petitions, and also by elections, they are also costly. All right, so this is one of the dangers for election rigging. Then the other danger is that people lose faith in democracy. So democracy is rule of the people by the people. So people now would start now losing faith in the democracy, to say the leaders that we have chosen, they would start now worrying whether these leaders were really voted by the people themselves or not, or impose themselves on the people. So they would lose faith in democracy. Then another danger of election rigging is that it increases actually voter apathy. People would start shunning voting because there will be no purpose of voting, even when they know that even when we vote, elections might be changed. So our votes will not count because of vote rigging. So people will start shunning away from voting. So it increases voter apathy. So another danger of election rigging is that government loses public support. So people will lose interest in the government, and then at the end of it, people will stop supporting government, because the government which will be in place, it will not be the government of the people by the people. It will be a government that imposes itself on the people, and hence the people will not support it. So that is another danger of election rigging. So another danger of election rigging is that it can lead to protests and demonstrations. So people can demonstrate, especially where there is a petition, like it happens in Mozambique recently, where the presidential elections were disputed, and a petition was taken to the Constitutional Court. And after the judgment, the Constitutional Court declared the elections to have been valid. So people and the opposition party started demonstrating, and they were destroying properties by burning them. So the dangers of election rigging lead to protest and demonstration. Then another one is that it may cause civil conflict. So it may cause civil conflict, which means that within that particular country, it can cause a war within the country. Okay, so another danger of election rigging is that country may face international sanction. So a country may be stopped from operating with other countries. It may be restricted in the way it operates in terms of business with other countries. Okay, so guys, we have come to the end of this civic education. So if you are interested to join the online tuitions for civic education, you can just check in my bio for contact. Civic education is at 100 kwacha per month. Thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, consider liking, sharing, and also commenting. For now, bye and see you in the next video.